Following the announcement from Valve on the Steam Frame VR headset, I've been swamped with questions, queries, and what have you. So in self-defense, I'm making this video at this point just to answer some of the questions as best as I'm able, but really I only know as much as you do. But it's 6 years since the Valve Index came on the scene, and Valve have finally announced the successor, the Steam Frame VR headset. Now, this was part of an announcement of new hardware coming probably first quarter, maybe early spring 2026. It included hardware that complements their Steam Deck, which is their mobile gaming platform, include a new high-quality controller, a small form factor PC, and of course the Steam Frame, a VR headset. The small form factor PC, I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm a little bit underwhelmed by that. It features a bespoke GPU and CPU. It has 16 gigabytes of memory, and the GPU has 8 gigabytes of memory. The GPU, if you like, is probably equivalent or close to an RX 7600 AMD GPU. For those of you not familiar with AMD, it's probably equivalent to an RTX 4060 or thereabouts. So very much middle or perhaps even lower middle in terms of overall capacity for something like flight simulation. Now, this is a flight simulation channel, and all my comments, etc., relate to using the hardware within a flight simulation environment, and particularly Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So the actual small form factor PC doesn't really excite me, but let's move on now and talk about the Steam Frame. Now, there's a mixture of disappointment and excitement perhaps with this headset at this stage. A lot of factors are unknown, and we have to bear that in mind. But perhaps the most interesting and exciting for me is the general direction of travel that Valve have followed, and that is they've gone wireless, they've gone standalone, following along the lines of the Quest 3, Play for Dream MR, and so on. So that's very, very interesting indeed, and perhaps signals the direction of VR for the future. Let's first of all just have a very quick look at the specifications for the Steam Frame VR headset. I'm not going to dwell on it. There's lots of reviews out there covering the specs in detail. We'll have a quick summary of the specs, and then I'll give you my overall impression at this stage on that VR headset. The first point of note is the CPU. The processor itself is different to that used in the Quest 3 and the Play for Dreams MR headset, for example. That is because they need the extra processing capability for XR/AR, which is basically mixed reality to you and me, through the use of color cameras and pass-through. The Steam Frame is more focused directly on streaming from the PC. Its pass-through, by all accounts, is not of particularly high quality and is monochrome, black and white. It has 16 GB of built-in RAM into the headset, as opposed to 8 GB from the Quest 3, for example, but that really is only relevant if you're using it in a standalone basis, with the game loaded into the headset. The battery is in the head strap at the rear, providing by all accounts very good balance, but again running something as intensive as Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, while battery life will be an interesting one to assess, would be a fair guess that an additional battery pack would be required. One very interesting aspect of this headset, and something I don't think any other headset in this genre offers, is its modularity. Basically, the head strap, which includes the speakers and battery, can be detached from the core module. This core module contains the CPU, the cameras, lenses, etc., and is held in place magnetically. The exciting opportunity here is Valve do then have the option to introduce new core modules sometime in the future, perhaps with upgraded features or resolutions, and its very design itself lends itself very comfortably to being modded. In terms of the optics itself, it comes with pancake lenses with a resolution of 2160 by 2160, the same as the HP Reverb, for example, which in itself is a little bit surprising and disappointing, and has a published FOV of 110 degrees, which to you and me I'm going to guess is going to be about 103, very much similar, once again, to the Quest 3. A range of refresh rates are available. Practically speaking, it would be 80, 90 or 120 Hz. Glad to see base stations won't be required as it uses inside-out tracking with IR sensors, so it should operate in fairly low light conditions. I mentioned earlier that this is very much focused on streaming, and this perhaps is the most interesting and exciting part of this headset. Supports Wi-Fi 7, but comes with its own dedicated Wi-Fi 6 dongle for communication directly between the PC and the headset. And additionally and significantly, it comes with eye tracking built in, and in conjunction with the dongle, which doesn't have to be used with a Steam machine, can be used with any PC. It's bringing in a relatively new technology called dynamic foveated streaming, which technically is different to dynamic foveated rendering. We'll cover more on that a little bit later. Has an expansion port which could be used, for example, for cameras, practicality of which I don't know, as it would stress that CPU in my opinion. And it comes with dual speakers on either side of the head strap, one cancelling the other so the vibration doesn't interfere with the tracking. Let's now turn our attention back for a moment to the foveated streaming. This is done at a hardware level, so no post-processing is required. That has an efficiency gain within itself. And by tracking where your eyes are, it will ensure that it provides the optimum resolution exactly where you're looking at any one time, with minimum latency, reducing the resolution in the area that you're not looking, utilizing Steam Link Vision 2, thus providing a performance improvement. For those with top-end CPUs and GPUs, the difference will be nominal arguably, but it does open the door for better performance for mid-range systems, which in itself is an attractive benefit. This technology is relatively new but already available, as I mentioned, via Steam Link 2, but you do need a headset that's both wireless and has built-in eye tracking, such as the Play for Dreams MR. Quest 3 doesn't have eye tracking, so it can't take advantage of this technology yet. And over the last couple of days I have been testing Steam Link 2 in the Play for Dreams MR and doing a brief comparison to Virtual Desktop. I have to say, from a personal point of view, I wasn't really able to determine a significant difference, but we'll only be able to judge it properly once Steam Link 2 is officially released in its final format. So for me at this time, the jury is still out on this one. So Valve's Steam Frame offers a number of potential advantages. One is that it has a dedicated plug-in 6E router that will communicate directly and exclusively to the VR headset. And within that VR headset, you have the opportunity to use dynamic foveated rendering or the new foveated streaming. Less pixels on the screen means a better performance. The other big advantage, of course, is that it's wireless, something I'm a big fan of, particularly as I use VR mainly on my motion simulator, my DOF H3. So from a purely flight simming point of view, who is the main competitor for the Steam Frame? Well, in my book, it's very clear it's the Quest 3. The resolution is very much the same. The Quest 3 offering the advantage of AR or XR usability, whereas the Steam Frame is more pure PC VR. But where I do think they're going to differ is the Quest 3 currently sells for something in the region of about $500 US. Don't expect the Steam Frame to sell at that sort of price. I think it's going to be significantly more expensive and much closer to the $1,000 US mark than it will be to the $500 US mark. They haven't quite released prices yet, but it'll be very interesting when they do. So in overall summary, I think I'm going to have to say that the Steam Frame is a welcome addition to the VR family and the number of options and technologies that will be forthcoming. Is it going to be a complete game changer for VR users? Well, at this stage, no, I'd have to say I don't think it will be, but it is certainly a step forward and pointing in the right direction. As always, thank you for joining me. Hope you found it useful and informative. Stay well, look after yourself, see you again soon, and ciao for now.